once we
Call to order. Salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Mayor Candelora.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Wentworth.
Here.
Counselor Angeloni.
Here.
Counselor Caprio.
Here.
Counselor Duty. Counselor Esposito. Counselor Fawnin.
Here.
Counselor Pucci.
Here.
Counselor Sienna.
We have a motion to approve the minutes from the October 1st, 2013 WPCA regular town council meeting.
I'd
So-
like to make a motion to table, because we're missing, they're not complete. We're missing page 3 out of the minutes.
So moved.
Need a second.
Second, I'm sorry.
Moved by Councilor Fawnin, seconded by Councilor Wentworth. Roll call.
Mayor Candelora.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wentworth.
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni.
Yes.
Counselor Caprio.
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin.
Yes.
Counselor Pucci.
It's to table.
Okay. I'm going to skip down and open the public hearing to hear comments on the proposed ordinance 213-01, which amends Chapter 123 of the Code of the Town of North Branford entitled Building and Construction. The North Branford Town Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday evening, October 15, 2013, at 7:30 p.m. in the North Branford Town Hall Council Chambers. The purpose of this public hearing will be to hear comments on the proposed ordinance 213-1, which amends Chapter 123 of the Code of the Town of North Branford entitled Building Construction. Public comments on this matter are welcome. A copy of the proposed ordinance is on file in the office of the town clerk and posted on the town's website. Dated at North Branford, Connecticut, this 19th day of September, 2013. Lisa A. Valente, MEMC, North Branford Town Clerk. Are there any public comments?
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Fawnin, seconded by Councilor Antoine. Roll call.
Mayor Candelora.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wentworth.
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni.
Yes.
Counselor Caprio.
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin.
Yes.
Counselor Pucci.
Yes.
Okay, open the public hearing at 7:46 p.m. The public hearing to hear comments on proposed ordinance 213-02, which amends Chapter 84 of the Code of the Town of North Branford entitled Purchasing. The North Branford Town Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, October 15th at 2013 at 7:45 p.m. in the North Branford Town Hall Council Chambers. The purpose of this hearing will be to hear comments on proposed ordinance 213-2, which amends Chapter 84 of the Code of the Town of North Branford entitled Purchasing. Public comments on this matter are welcome. A copy of the proposed ordinance is on file in the office of the town clerk and posted on the town's website. Dated at North Branford, Connecticut, the 2nd day of October, 2013. Lisa Valente, MMC, North Branford Town Clerk. Again, is there any public comment?
I just have a question. So, when we received the other documents, there were 2 or 3 pages of other things that went along with this ordinance. Are those still in place, and we're only changing the first paragraph? Or does this take care of everything?
We're just changing that one paragraph.
So everything else is still part of the ordinance?
Right.
I move to close the public hearing.
Second?
Moved by Deputy Mayor Wentworth, seconded by Counselor Angeloni. Roll call?
Mayor Candelora.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wentworth.
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni.
Yes.
Counselor Caprio.
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin.
Yes.
Counselor Fucci.
Yes.
Okay. Water Pollution Control Authority agenda. Item 3, correspondence, citizen statements. Unfinished business, extension of sanitary sewers, Gale Drive.
Good evening. This is a carryover item from last meeting. And just to give a brief overview, last year, the Workers' Control Authority authorized the installation of sanitary sewers in Gale Drive to service 6 properties. And that's subject to the final funding by the town council. The project was put out to bid. Bids were opened the end of last month, and the actual estimated cost for the sanitary sewer project came in very favorably. Basically, it went from an estimated cost per property of $14,000 per property, which was the original estimate. Based upon the numbers that we received, it came in around $8,600 per property for the sanitary sewers. So that, and again, it's back on tonight for action, basically for funding authorization. And there was one other item that was sort of left in the open. Initially, there were 3 properties were in favor of the sanitary sewers, 3 against. And there was the potential to basically eliminate 2 of the properties at the end. And I said I would bid it sort of an ad alternate to see what the numbers came in, to see if we left them out, would it do the project and the overall cost per unit. And basically, the way I bid it, it's basically $8,600 per unit, whether we do 4 properties or whether we do 6 properties. The one caveat is, if we're gonna do 2 properties at the end, if one of them wants the sanitary sewers, it's really all in or all out, because the sewer has to go by both of those properties. So basically, as a follow-up, I sent a letter to all the affected property owners informing of the results of the bid, a revised payment schedule based upon a 4% interest rate, which is what Anthony said is pretty much the standard going rate at this point. And again, it basically comes down to a total of $8,600 to be assessed for each of the properties. And the annual rate goes from about $760 at the initial high end down to about $450 at the end of 20 years. So the annual payment declines from about $750 to about $450 over that period. I know there are some residents that you might want to listen to and whether they speak for or against it. But they were sent the letter, second page includes a letter that was sent to them basically saying that the intent was to move forward with this project. But we'd like to hear from any of the residents on their findings.
Thank you, Kurt. Are there any residents this evening that would like to speak? Would you just please state your name and address for the record? Thank you.
It's Walt Polishevsky. I'm at 19 Gale Drive in Northford. And I would just like to ask one question to start with. How did this come about to go through with the sewers on our end of the neighborhood? How did the town get involved?
Well,
There
some of
were
your
sent
neighbors
letters
came
by
to the
people that
council.
lived there that were having
Yes.
problems with their septic systems.
I understand. And then we had a vote. They sent letters out, registered letters when we had the vote. And the registered, when we voted, 3 voted for it and 3 said no. So then the town went ahead and put the bid out anyway.
Well, they came back to us against
If it was 3, yeah, but if it's a 3-3 tie, it's a no-win situation. No? In other words, what I'm trying to say is, I'm not having a problem with my septic system. I'm raising 2 young kids, which is neither here nor there. What I'm saying is that I don't need an added expense right now. I don't need it. I just thought, well, you have 3 here that say yes, and 3 that say no. it's a dead end, ain't it?
I think what he thinks is it's a tie vote, but I
It's
don't
a tie
think,
vote.
right, I don't think it goes like that.
Kurt?
Maybe I
Maybe you
can-
can bring a little insight.
And it basically, it was, you know, it's viewed as, when WPCA looks at, it's viewed as the public good. All the sewer projects, everybody's not in favor of them, everybody's not, I mean, it's generally consensus of, is there a need, is there enough need to move forward, with the project, and does it benefit the public good? 'Cause it's not that simple, you know, tie vote, or, because we went to the White Hollow project, that was one that a lot of people not in favor of it. We went ahead with it, but it was a deed, and it was, again, for the public good.
But then let me ask you this question. The people, I was told there's 2 houses that really have a problem out of the 6. By any chance, did the people that have a problem try to hire a contractor and take care of their own situation? Because on the lower end of Gale Drive, at the beginning of Gale Drive from Old Turnpike, I know of 3 houses that had problems with their septic tank. The town didn't get involved. They fixed their own, on their own price. There's 3 houses. I know 2 of them, they had leaching field problems. They hired a contractor and fixed it. They didn't go to the town and ask for help. They did not go to the town. They fixed their own problem. If I have a problem with my septic tank, I'm not gonna come to you and say, I want sewers. I'm gonna fix my own problem. What it is now is that it comes in at $8,600. Like I said before, I'm raising two grandkids. $8,600, I'm gonna have to take the 20-year loan. The interest is 4%, but at the end of 20 years, it's $11,000. So that's $3,000 just for that. Now, estimate, which you guys don't get involved with, is to hooking up from the house to the road. Now, I understand we need grinder pumps, and I hear they're very expensive. So, did anybody get a price to see how much it's gonna cost for a grinder pump? It's none of your problems, it's our problem. I was told it's estimated roughly $10,000 to go from the house to the road. So now, I gotta come up with $10,000, take $10,000, I gotta take another loan out for $10,000. So I'm paying $3,000 in interest on 20 years back to the town, and then I gotta take a loan and pay a loan back for that $10,000 to hook up to it. Why should I have to be susceptible to that? If I have a problem with my sewers, I'll fix my own sewers. I'm not asking nobody to help me. Don't help me. I don't need the sewers. I don't want the sewers.
But you said you were at 19?
19 Gale Drive, yes.
So that's one of the properties that doesn't have to hook up to it.
Right.
That's one of the ones at the tail end, number 19
That
and
was-
number 14.
So he wouldn't have to.
It doesn't have, no one's required to hook up unless, again, unless East Shore comes and says you have a problem, and there's no,
Right.
you have to.
But
You would have to be, you would be assessed, and you would have to pay the benefit assessment, but you don't have to, in this case, you don't have to buy a grinder pump, you don't have, all those costs you're not required.
But he wouldn't be assessed if he's at 19, correct? If it stopped?
If it stops short.
Right.
And I wish, number 14 was here, because, when I talked to him, he seemed to be leaning in favor of it, but,
19 and 14 are the 2 houses that we don't
yeah,
have to
and
do.
Yes.
There was 3 of us that didn't want it.
And one was in the middle, so,
Well, actually, there was 4 people that
4.
responded
Right.
out of the 6.
Right.
So only 4 responded.
I thought you said it was 3 to 3. 3 said yes and 3 said no.
3 were yes, and 3 were either no response or no.
All right,
So
Kurt,
I think that's how.
You spoke to 14, and 14 seemed to be leaning that way, but
Yeah,
didn't
and
give
I
you...
was hoping, again, I invited him here, a little,
Oh, wait a minute, you said he was leaning that way,
Yeah.
but he didn't give you a definitive response.
I met Mr. Palczewski and Mr. Malillo, the owner, number 14, when this was out to bid.
And he was aware of
He
tonight's
was
meeting?
well, I sent him a letter, on the whole thing. At that point, and again, based on the 14,000 numbers,
Yeah.
it seemed to be leaning towards that, but I have not heard back from him. I tried
So is
calling
it
him,
the
but-
solution, if he didn't come out to express an opinion one way or another, and this gentleman doesn't want it, that we take those 2 properties out, do the other 4?
We can absolutely do that. It's just the opportunity, and I'll be honest with you, the way I look at it, because if we're gonna do it, now's the time to do it. That's
Trust me,
why-
I'm a homeowner. It's like buying a car. You buy a car, you get a lemon, you're stuck with it. I'm stuck with my house. If I have a problem with my house, I'll fix my own house. If I have problems with that septic, I'm gonna call somebody right away, because it's a health problem to your family. I'm gonna get on the phone and call a contractor. I'm gonna say, can you please come out and let's see what is the matter with the sewer? Let's see what's the matter with the septic, with the septic. At that point, he says, okay, it's your leaching fields. Just say theoretically, it's gonna be $10,000 to fix your leaching fields. That's a whole heck of a lot cheaper than my interest I gotta pay, because if that pipe runs in front of my house, I gotta pay $8,600. I can fix my own septic. I don't need nobody, no help to fix septic. I'll do my own. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right, so
And the only reason why, I'm sorry.
well, we could stop it prior to your house and not
Right.
have it go to.
But now, 14, Mr. Melillo, he's talking about it because he said his friends that live on Ruta had it done about 5 years ago. They did sewers over there. And he said back then it was like $8,000, $9,000. He goes, now they're talking, roughly $14,000 before you got the bid. Roughly four. He goes, well, he goes, I'm starting at 10, maybe I ought to pay that $14,000, but not hook up to my house, but pay the $14,000, because who knows, maybe in 5, 6 years, you'll have a problem. And then maybe at that time, they run the pipe, it'll be, who knows, 13, 14, 15,000 to run that pipe in the road.
There isn't probably going to be an opportunity to run the pipe if you don't take advantage of it now.
No, I don't want it. I'll fix my own problems. I'll fix my own problems. And then I'll deal with the bank when I have to. I'll make a deal with the bank. If I gotta pay interest, I'll deal with the bank. I'll fix my own problem. I don't need this. I don't.
Okay, got it.
Because it really comes, now, we're gonna be redoing the road, so the permanent pavement, there's a lot of cost savings to do it
Right.
now, and that's one of the things that sort of makes it attractive at this point.
You want me to sign a waiver? I'll sign a waiver that I'll never put sewers in. You want me to sign papers? I don't care, man.
So what happens if his neighbor, Mr. Melillo, wants to put the sewer in? Then what happens?
I'm
Down the
stuck.
road,
No, I mean, what if he wants to do it now?
I'm stuck, right?
How does that,
Well,
I guess the question is, how does it affect?
He would have to pay,
Right,
he would have to pay
exactly.
the assessment.
I would
Doesn't
have to
have to
pay.
hook up to it, but he'd have to pay the assessment,
have
because
to
it's
They
either
both
all
would?
around.
correct, they both,
Which is
they have to, if it
$14,000.
goes
No, no,
nine,
86.
Okay, so
the
it's-
benefit is
I just
nine.
want to clarify that. Okay.
We also add to the value of your home if you ever choose to sell it.
I'm 60 years old. Come on.
Insurance,
I mean,
whoever you leave it to.
It's gonna go to my kids.
Well, the same,
You know, I'm not looking for a value of the house.
I'm just
If I
saying,
have problems, in life, everybody in life has a road to go down. And you're gonna have a speed bump there every once in a while. Deal with it. Deal with it. That's all I'm saying. I'll deal with my own problems. I don't wanna be forced, I don't wanna be put in a corner that I have to pay it, because now Mr. Melillo's decided, well, maybe 5 years, I do have a problem, now it's gonna cost me $18,000 to run the pipe. You got a lower bid, I understand that, but at this time, I'm dead against it. I'm dead against it. And I don't wanna be put in a corner that I have to come up with that kind of money, because I'm gonna be paying 3,000, close, what's the interest on 8,600 over 20 years? I think it was 11,000 and change.
Well, it's 33.
About $3,000.
About 3,300, now that's just that, now if I wanted to hook up, I haven't gotten a price from a contractor to hook up from the house to the road. Kurt Weiss said possibly, estimated $10,000, because you need a grinder pump. We're gonna go for $10,000, I gotta take out a loan, so now I'm gonna pay interest on that. So now, instead of 86 now, and say roughly 10, that's 18,000, 20 years down the road, I'm gonna be paying 24,000 because of the interest, hooking up in the pipe in the road. So $24,000, I could probably just, I don't know, I probably could put a whole system in for $24,000. And a lot of times, I don't know, we have steel tanks here. Your tank don't go, it's usually your leaching fields. And I think that would be cheaper than $24,000 if I gotta replace leaching fields. I don't know, I haven't called a contractor to get an estimate. But I think it would be cheaper for me in the long run, just handle my own problem.
Now I have another hypothetical question, Kurt.
Okay.
Say what happens that East Shore Health comes in and says their systems are shot. They either have to, I don't know if they could redo a system or they have to have sewers, then what happens? Will they be able to redo a system no matter
They
what?
have an engineered system, right?
That would be East Shore's fault, and they have to do testing.
Right.
I think the soils, I mean,
I know, I'm trying to pin you
Yeah.
down to anything, but I'm just trying to make this gentleman aware of options in the future. God forbid something happens that the whole system's no good. Can he redo a whole system and put a whole?
Well, you can do it. Again, a lot of times you have to have a pump system, an elevated system,
You
and
just
they
about-
become expensive.
Well,
Absolutely.
okay, I just wanna get everything out in the open, so we know, hopefully, somebody doesn't come to us in 2 or 3 years and says, I want sewers there because I can't do anything else, and it's gonna cost me $40,000 to put an engineered system in.
There's never a time that there's nothing you could do.
Okay.
Maybe dig all the soil out of your yard, like Kurt said, bring all the soil in, pump it up, but it might cost 10 times what the sewer.
Right, so then you might be looking at 40,000 or 50,000.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
I mean, that's conceivable.
Right.
Depending on, it's usually the fill and the pump that dictate
Right, because I just want to make sure he's aware,
I have
God
one
forbid.
more question too. Just Kurt, say the other gentleman, it sounds like he lives in between where the sewer ends now and where Mr. Polachevsky is.
Mr. Polachevsky and the other gentleman, they both live at the end of.
They're both at the end of the
Yeah,
street.
yeah.
So if he says that he wants to bring the sewer, is he obligated to pay into that too at that point? Is that the way I understand
Yeah,
it?
and if we're gonna
Right.
extend it to serve number 14, we're gonna
Gotcha.
serve 19 at the same time, and they're all part of the project.
So if that's where the project ends, he's forced to pay the $8,600 no matter
He
what.
would be assessed for the benefit of having the sanitary sewers fronting on his property.
And there's nothing wrong with his, right now, his system's not failed.
I mean, my understanding is from both number 14, when I've been out there, they don't have a problem now. They're looking at more, I think, from an insurance, it's like buying insurance.
Right,
You have
right,
the
right.
ability to connect in the future, that's what.
But we don't have a solid answer, bro.
I don't have a solid answer from him at this point.
But there was also one other house that voted no.
But they would be.
But
assessed-
he's caught between a hard rock and a stone. There's one other one that said no.
Yeah.
And he's caught, he's right where the sewers need to be hooked up. That's the third house. The third house that says no, he's right where the sewers are gonna be hooked up. So he has no choice. If they do run the sewers, and he didn't want them, and he voted no, he's gonna pay for it, even though he said a no. Because he has no choice. They're gonna run the pipe right in front of his house
That's correct.
to do the rest of the houses.
He would have the benefit of having the sanitary sewers, so he would have an assessment level against.
But he would have no say.
Well, everybody had a say, the WPCA makes the final decision in terms of,
But as far as that third house that said no, he's got no choice.
he would be assessed for the decision. Yeah, he would have.
And he also said no. So you're putting us between a rock and a hard stone here. You're putting our back up against a wall that don't want it.
Putting our back up against the wall a little bit too,
Yeah.
because we have to make the decision for the people who want it and the people who don't want it. That's the hard part
Well, the
for us.
problem is, on the lower end of Gale Drive, there was 3 houses that had problems. They called a contractor and fixed their own problems.
Right. Why?
They didn't get into this.
Right.
They did not get into this. They fixed their own problem. I know of 3 houses on the lower end of Gale Drive. And 2 of them I know definitely had their leaching fields. And one had them elevated to make it level, and they extended them, and the other one had the leaching fields replaced. The third one, he had problems with his leaching fields. I don't know what the extent was the problem with it. It was not the tank, it was the leaching fields. And they all paid it out of their own pocket. They all paid it out of their pocket. There was no council meeting, there was no bids, there was none of that for those 3 houses down there. What I'm saying is now, because 2 out of supposedly 6 houses are having problems, we're getting put against the wall, because I don't want, I have no problem with my sewer. And like I said, I'll fix my own. At the time, when the time comes, if I need an engineered system, shame on me, I lost the gamble. In life, life's a gamble. It's a 50-50 proposition.
Absolutely.
So you know what, I'd like to take my chance and say, hey, I'll take my chance. If I need an engineered system, I'll fix it. I'll do what I gotta do to get that money.
All right. Is there anyone else that has public comment on this?
Thank you.
Over here? Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is William Vajunas. I'm the last one on the sewer line, which is at the end of the road. Couple questions I have is, it says it's a small, high-pressure line that's gonna be installed. My house probably sits about 20 feet above the street. The only thing I'm asking for is a pipe big enough so I don't need a grinder pump. And I also wanna know if the pipe's gonna be put under my foot lawn, so when it comes time to hook up, it'll be right there.
Okay, you're gonna need a grinder pump, because the whole line is low, and it pumps up into a gravity sewer. What you're gonna have to do in your case is you're gonna have to run the gravity line out towards the edge of the road, and have the grinder pump pretty much at roll level, more or less. And it'll have to pump up into that small line.
Why can't they put a bigger pipe?
Because there's no grade to do it, because where the existing sewer line ends, it's too shallow. When it was installed in NIDA and all that, it wasn't deep enough to be extended down in your area. So it has to be pumped, you know, the whole area has to be pumped.
But no matter what, you're gonna put a check valve between the sewer and everybody's house, and
Yeah,
the backflows.
That's correct.
So I don't understand why you can't put a bigger pipe in front of mine,
but-
so I don't have to spend $10,000 on a grinder pump.
But it won't go by gravity. It's a,
Well, mine will, because if I'm 20
Yeah, but-
feet above the street, everything goes downhill.
but you can't get from the street in front of your property
Up.
to the manhole. You have to pump it up. And what it is, it's a common line with these,
And I'm that person on the end that, no matter what happens, I'm gonna end up with the sewer, one way or another. So I mean, realistically, I can go from my house to my next door neighbor without the town also and hook up. And probably cheaper than $10,000 for a pump. So that's all I have to say. I still don't understand why I still can't get a bigger pipe up. Thanks.
we just can't do it by gravity. That's the ideal way, you're 100% correct. If we could do it, then nobody has to get hit with a grinder pump cost. But the fact that the street slopes
And-
down and it's too shallow is the only way to do it.
All right.
Is there anyone else here that would like to comment?
The people with the problems, are they here?
Good evening, I'm Debbie Klatzko, and I'm one of the properties that's having a problem with the septic system. And I'm really not here to debate the issue as far as the cause. I mean, we're property owners, responsible property owners. The system has failed. It's a high water table. We've made significant life changes with not being able to use a washer or a dishwasher for more than 5 years, showers being taken at families' houses because we're constantly pumping the water from our system. It's not, we did have a contractor come out and look and had the state come out and do several perk tests. We looked at other options. We've had risers put on our tank and incurred thousands of dollars of repairs and damages to the house with backups to the system. To have another septic system and leaching fields put in on our property because the water table is so high, we're at the lowest point on Gale Drive. We're looking at an estimate of probably $50,000. And to do it privately, to hook up with a sewer system to go down the road is also going to be that cost. We're taxpayers too, and what we're asking for is a little help to fix the problem. We're not asking for anyone to pay for our problem, but we're asking for the town to help us to ease the problem that we're having at our property and just have a sewer system put in. The last town council meeting we were at, we came to light that possibly if there were homeowners that didn't want a sewer system put in, that possibly a deferment could be offered to them so that they wouldn't have to pay over the 20 years. They would have 20 years, either pay it at the end of the 20 years or if they sold their home. And I don't know if that's still an option. Or just have the line end with the two properties that don't want it. But we're hoping that the council will vote in favor of having the sewer line put in and just put an end to the water problem that we're having. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ben Klatzko, 16 Gale Drive. Part of my voice. Too much talking. I got one thing to basically say. East Shore came out to my property and they told me straight out, it's condemned. The second place where they were supposed to put it can't be put there. There's no option. It was East Shore Health District that said, I got the paperwork at home, I'm sure the town has the paperwork from East Shore. It was Dennis Johnson. that said, you don't have an option, the only option you have is sewers. Septic is out, his exact words. I also had the state down. The state cannot get involved directly, but if East Shore should happen to call the state, he said he will come down and testify to that. That's what I really have to say, that there is a health problem. We've been fighting this for a long time. And, you know, let me end it there, on that note. I just hope you make the right decision. Whether, let me have one more. Whether it goes 4 houses or 6 houses, in my opinion, it doesn't matter to me. That's not my choice. That's not my decision to make. It's just my opinion I'm stating. I don't care if it's 4 or 6 or whatever it may be. All I know is what East Shore Health District told me. And we've been fighting this for over 5 years. What East Shore District told me with Dennis Johnson. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, to summarize, there was an action taken back last year, basically based upon the input that the commission, the Water Pollution Control Authority heard at that time, which was to go ahead with the sanitary sewers, design it, and then, again, the intent was to come back regarding those 2 properties, whether they could be in or out. And you've heard Mr. Palczewski on one of those that would prefer not to be in. That's pretty much a summary. Again, the numbers are pretty favorable. That's the good news. The bad news, everybody certainly is not in favor of it, but we pretty much have 3 properties that definitely were in favor of it. And again, to eliminate number 14 and number 16 does not change the overall price per unit.
16 or 14?
14 and 19, I'm sorry. 14 and 19, if they were eliminated, we just shorten it up, the per unit cost is the same. It's basically $8,600 per unit. What I drafted was a suggested motion, basically, and this is for your consideration, that the Water Pollution Control Authority to authorize installation of small diameter force main in accordance with the June 5th WPCA motion, at a revised total cost not to exceed $52,000. And again, that's for 6 properties. If you want to do it, we want to shorten that, you're basically taking off about
It would be
15.
35,000.
Well, I was rounding up to 37, only because I'm carrying a few contingencies, taking off the 15,000. Not to exceed 37,000, and basically we're talking about, in that case, for properties number 16, 18, 20, and 22. Those would be the 4 that would be served. Again, all these properties, ultimately, they have to also bear the additional cost of a grinder pump installation, which is, could be from $10,000 to $15,000, depending on the individual property. And
But if they don't wanna hook up
if
to
they
it,
don't want to hook up,
all it costs them is the 86.
the 86 plus the interest over that 20-year
Now,
period.
Can you corroborate what East Shore Health told that gentleman? That he can't fix his system?
I don't have everything, but I know East Shore was in favor of the whole project. You know, they had a number of them that did have problems, but I cannot corroborate that at this point. I'd have to look and double check with East Shore. Historically, to be honest, I think we've been talking about trying to get sewers in this area since about 1995. That's when it initially came up, and there was always 2 properties that had a bigger concern, and it was the cost was extremely high. At that time, one time the WPCA did grant them the ability to get easements across individual properties and run private lines to serve their properties. But I think that became undoable or unmanageable to try to get easements across everybody's property, because they're pretty far down the line to get there. They had to go across several properties to do it. So we're back almost 20 years later, and the issue pretty much is the same.
And you heard nothing from this Mr. Malillo, and this is, we're gonna decide this tonight?
Well, I was hoping to get this thing
Right,
going.
I'm
I
sure
mean,
you are,
I
but
mean,
we heard
that's-
nothing from Mr. Malillo. Now, I don't wanna decide this
Yeah.
and then have him come in and say, well,
Right.
you're not running a line in front of my house now, and I want my line,
Yeah.
you know?
I talked to him when this was being bid. He seemed to indicate that he might be leaning towards having the sewer installed, or in front of his property, being in favor of it.
Well, I would
But I
suggest-
haven't talked to him since.
Right, I would suggest we clarify this point before we make a final decision on this, because it makes sense to do it, because I have a feeling that somehow it's gonna come back and bite us. I don't know if you can call him, talk to him, but once he says, okay, I don't wanna run the line, then Mr. Polachewski and him don't have to have the line, and they don't have to worry about it. I feel bad for this gentleman over here, but kinda, you're between a rock and a hard place, as they said. But it would be nice to know what this gentleman is definitely gonna decide on before we do this.
Absolutely. And I did make a call and left a message, but I never heard back.
Well-
That's exactly, my concern, to hear from both the people at the end of the line.
Well, it won't stop the other four from getting a line. By
Well,
waiting for-
it's
Will
a
it?
matter of awarding a contract.
Right,
Do
we
we
have to
award the
award a
whole thing
The
contract.
whole thing?
or part of it? That's what, and again, time of year, ideally, the sooner we get going, the better off we are, because this could be done in a pretty relatively short period of time. Before the winter? Yeah, that was the intent, to get it all in and let it settle over the winter, and then do the road.
Well, we could vote on it tonight, too. I mean, it's what everybody wants to do.
Well, we have to get an answer from the gentleman anyway, right? One way or the
One
other.
way or the other.
If you would consider maybe tabling this a little bit later, I can make another phone call again. I
Can
certainly
you come
like,
back to it in the same meeting?
if
call
if
now?
you can do, I'll make a call again. I
Sure.
called and left a message. That's always been my intent,
It won't hurt.
It will.
All right.
and I'll do
come
that
back
in the
Yeah,
meantime.
why don't you
Call.
call,
I'll do that.
Okay.
and we'll come back to it. No, mine's sitting for a few minutes. Okay, we're gonna go on to new business, none. I'm sorry? Sure, a brief, please. Sure.
Again, Ben Klasko, 16 Gale Drive. Just to answer your question, sir, I do have the paperwork from Dennis Johnson, if you want me to bring it in.
No, I just asked Kurt
I
if he
do
was
have-
aware of it.
I do
That's
have
fine.
it. It's all-
I can
it's all
understand the
it's all
problem.
documented. Thank you.
Thank
No
you.
problem.
Can I make this quick statement?
A brief, please.
If this passes, Walter Polachewski, 19 Gale Drive, if this passes, you're putting my back against the wall. You're putting my back against the wall, because yes, Frank's thinking about it, and the only reason why he's thinking about it is because his friends over on Route, they did it 5 years ago, and it was at the cost of like $8,000 or $9,000. So Frank's thinking, they said it's roughly gonna be $14,000. So Frank goes, well, maybe I'm better off doing it now. But once he finds out what it's gonna cost to run from his road, his septic's in the back of his house. He ain't gonna get away with $10,000 to $15,000 to hook up that pump and run it across his yard. His septic's in the back of his house. Maybe he ought to get a price of how much, when he decides to hook up to it, how much it's gonna cost him before he makes a decision. Oh yeah, it's only $8,600 now, but what's it gonna cost him? May only cost him $8,600 now, but maybe he'll never have a problem. There's only two living in the house. If the problem comes, what is it gonna cost the contractor to run from the road to the back of his house with a grinder pump? And I'm sure it's gonna be, I'm not a contractor, I'm sure it'll be more than $10,000, $15,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, citizen statements and petitions. Regular town council meeting. Reports of committees, boards, and commissions. A, Economic Development Commission.
The Economic Development Commission is going to meet next week on the 21st.
Item B, Permanent Project Building Committee.
Permanent project met just prior to the council meeting. We approved some final billing on the phase 1 of the community center out of phase 2 money, which was the reallocation of the steep money. We did approve to order 2 partitions for the 2 utility rooms, the all-purpose rooms, and doorknobs have to be changed because they're not ADA, and some locks have to be keyed differently. So that was approved tonight. And we are looking at getting some more definitive figures for phase 2, which the bulk of the money will probably go for the parking lot, lighting, and demolition of portables. That was it.
Thank you. Communications Subcommittee, we have not met. An agenda has been put together for a meeting. I believe it was the
Next week, the
22nd.
22nd.
And item D, Finance Subcommittee.
Finance met last week. The biggest item was in regards to the Potato and Corn Festival, which is later on in our agenda. There were no appropriations and no contingency transfers. That's it.
Town Manager's Report, item A, Route 80 update.
Yeah.
Mike, if I could just
Oh,
interrupt you
sure.
quick. I did speak to Matt at the DOT because they had put a electronic device on Route 80, which picks up metal on the cars and changed the light pattern. So I don't know if people may have noticed heavy traffic the last few days on Route 80, backing it up Guilford and towards East Haven. They are out there this evening. They removed it, but for some reason, it's not working properly. So they're going to try to repair it this evening and synchronize those lights so that traffic won't be backed up. Right now, they're not synchronized, so traffic is pretty heavy.
Great.
So,
Yeah, and as far as I know, they're proceeding on schedule in terms of the paving through Thanksgiving, and work to get that binder down. I know Kurt might have some more detail to that as well, but that's essentially, I think, what they're doing.
Yeah, basically what they indicated, they planning on Thanksgiving week, they should be doing their final binder course on the north side. But with their plan still, they're hoping to be able to get cap it with the final course this fall. That's their plan, and that's what they're shooting for. And that would be a nice thing if they got all that done, because it just buttons up everything for traffic flow and the whole winter process. And we'll keep you updated, but that's, again, around Halloween, binder course on the north side, and then following up with, hopefully, that final course before the end of the season.
great. Were you able to make contact with the phone call? Malilla?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I left a message again. I got no answer.
No answer. Okay.
What would happen, Kurt, hypothetically, if we approve the 4 lots that are the front end of the project, and the project was awarded, could the other 2 lots be added? Next meeting is,
November 12th.
Add alternate or something.
It's November 12th.
12.
so it's like 3 weeks away. Could that happen?
Or would have to go out to bid again.
I would try to do it on the existing bid. It just sort of changed, at the end, there's a manhole that goes at the end of the line. It all depends on the timing of the contractor, how quickly you get going, because either the manhole goes at one location, or we move it at the further end.
Okay,
And
so
I can
the
probably
practical
coordinate
answer
that.
is we either vote for 4 lots or 6 lots tonight, or we put it off till the next meeting.
You know, a lot of times you can deal with contractor, I mean,
If we put it off, will they be able to do it this year?
I doubt it.
Okay, okay. You answered my question anyway. We got a decision to make, guys. Go ahead.
Let me just, I may be, if you went with 4, and there was interest in the final one, I mean, I could discuss that with the contractor and see if that, how that fit and report back at the November 12th.
Well, the price wouldn't change, I would think.
Price doesn't, that price doesn't
Right,
change.
he would just have to do more work and he'd make more
Yeah,
money, so I don't think he would cry.
Yeah, I just can't tell you how timing works, and that's the only thing that can throw it off
Right.
on the whole thing, but, I mean, he certainly can get authorized to go to surface the 4 lots, and then, discussing that as a possibility, that may or may not.
Point of order.
Oh, so you want a motion? You want to go back to that item on the agenda right now?
Yeah, let's get it over with, because I think I'm gonna go home after this.
Okay.
My knees are killing me.
All right, I'd like to make a motion that the North Branford Water Pollution Control Authority authorizes the installation of the small diameter force main in accordance with the June 5th, 2012 WPCA motion at a revised total cost not to exceed $37,000 to include properties 16, 18, 20, and 22 Gale Drive. So this is for 4. The motion I just read is for 4 properties.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Angeloni, seconded by Counselor Caprio. Is there any further discussion?
So we're leaving off the 2 at the end.
Well, the other gentleman hasn't responded to numerous tries, so.
And what's reported to us is
And
at
let's
best,
just
he
go-
seems to be wavering as to which way he wants to go,
Yeah,
and
it
it's really an
seems-
economic decision rather than a need-based decision.
Right.
And we've got one that's clearly strongly opposed to it, so.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Okay. Roll call.
Mayor Candelora,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wentworth,
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni,
Yes.
Counselor Caprio,
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin,
Yes.
Counselor Fucci.
Yes.
Done deal.
All right, going back to the manager's report, sorry.
I'm going home.
Thank you,
Good
Ben.
luck.
Yep.
Hope you feel better.
Cortisone shots Thursday morning.
We were on what, item B, community.
Communities, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, everything's moving along and you know, transitioning into phase 2. What I'd like to do is get some detail in terms of the budget for phase 2 for the council to take a look at, and also looking ahead in terms of an RFP for the architect with respect to the outside, you know, drawing and design to help us, you know, keep the project on pace to do what we need to do, because there are certain things that Fran and Public Works can do with respect to the outside work, not only the parking lot and earth moving and staking things out, and the portables in terms of demolition and so forth. So I'd like to outline that scenario and bring that to council for the next meeting. And anticipation of moving to the Permanent Project Building Committee for their next meeting on the 18th, because they won't be able to meet on the 11th. It's a holiday, so they'll have to meet a special meeting on the 18th.
The Farm River Bridge project.
Right. As I mentioned to the council members, Farm River Project, the DOT is obviously agreed to go forward with a secondary, you know, temporary 2-lane bridge, which is, I thought, was good news, and but they still want to proceed with a public informational meeting, and the 19th as an opportunity for a second special meeting doesn't work for them, so it looks like it'll have to be the 12th, even though it's an organizational meeting for the 12th, that we'll have that one item as a public informational meeting.
Can we make sure?
Unless you want some other date or time. But it's gonna be hard to,
There doesn't seem to be any urgency for this informational meeting since they're going to go with a 2-lane bridge.
Right, well, the thing is, I want to make sure the business owners down there are all notified, because looking at where they're going to put this bridge, Walt's Auto Body is right there, and that is going to take up a significant frontage of his property. And I want to make sure that he is aware, you know, of what they're doing and how it's going to affect his business, and along with that plaza coming up there. Because my understanding is they need like 35 feet or more, so that doesn't leave him a lot of room coming out his front door. And I'm all for this bridge. I just want to make sure that they're all notified and, you know, that we know where it's going, so we don't, you know, shut these businesses down.
Yeah, I think that we could do that locally. I mean, in addition, or coordinating with the DOT for that
Yeah.
informational meeting. If we do sort of a blanket letter, cover them.
Okay.
I can work with, in terms of we can map it out, and we can
Sure.
get within a radius to get that. But I think the 12th is what we're gonna have to be faced with in terms of.
Can you just make sure that they're not before the council meeting, because that's the first council meeting after the election and everyone is sworn in, so have their meeting start at 7:30 or
Yeah, right.
something, 8 o'clock, I
Right.
mean,
Right, so historically, you've done the swearing in, done all
Right.
the procedural issues that you do.
correct,
Move it out to at least 7:30, if not 8.
correct.
Okay, sure, yeah, I'll send that forward. Okay.
Item D, counseling services update.
Yeah, I did meet with Peter Simino at Branford Counseling Services, and Louisa Breen also accompanied me. We met with them. The discussion was a good discussion, a conversation, favorably, but they are going to work through some numbers, and I believe what they said was to sort of develop a proposal for us. So really, the ball's in their court to see if they think they can pull it off. But, it was worth exploring. We're exploring it, and as soon as I have something, I'll bring it back.
Great. Okay, item E, grant opportunities, Steve and others.
Yeah, just the steep notification, next round is out. So what I'd like to do is take a look at doing an analysis of what's eligible or what would be potentially eligible, put some numbers to it, sort of give you a recommendation at the next meeting on the 12th. Give you a couple ideas of what we should be going for. I'm not aware of anything, but
Right.
we have this opportunity, so I'd like to give you some recommendations. And then there may be, other grant opportunities out there as well.
Now, on the grant opportunities, as you're aware, I was emailing and calling you 2-3 months in advance over this school securities grant. And somehow, it seemed to slip through the cracks, and we lost an opportunity. It was filed late, it was incomplete. How do we get better at this? How do we not let that happen?
Well, yeah, that particular grant on the school side is a school grant. I don't know. I left it within the school side. I don't think we could apply on their behalf and do a grant without, they had to be the lead on that. And I think we were just as support in terms of filing that application.
I know we had discussions here at the council with them, and we're told that we applied for the grant, we were applying for it.
Yeah, and I think maybe it's something that comes on that communications subcommittee, that, hey, listen, this is what we're looking at, what are you looking at, and here's an opportunity, and.
The information we got seemed to be incomplete too, on the grant application that, we requested.
Do you know how much they applied for? Because I couldn't tell from the information that was sent to us.
I don't know that either, yeah,
Okay.
I think a lot has to do with the nature, the sensitivity of the document with respect to strategy, if you will, in terms of school security. So I think, it's available if we look at it, if we go up there to look at it, but not something that they're going to, copy and send out.
Yeah, I'm not looking to publish this. We're more looking at the taxpayers and.
Oh, right, no,
due
taking
diligence
advantage, yeah.
for the town.
No, I get it, yeah. I just think, I think maybe the communications subcommittee is the way to go in terms of talking
Yeah,
about
okay.
future opportunities, and so that we don't miss any other chances.
Mike, just one, I'm sorry, Mayor. I just wanted to you forgot one thing, the wall field, we're gonna start demoing that. I didn't know if there was any, we're gonna start like soon. So just to let you know, it's just an FYI. You get calls. Probably gonna start in the next few days.
Is there, well, I already know, you can probably say, but like a score It's not worth it.
Everything's getting scrapped. I think the
It's not worth it.
scoreboard is not worth it.
Yeah.
I think it needs a lot of repair.
Yeah.
That's what I was told from
That's
Little
that
League.
figure, okay.
And the demolition of the portables, is that a project for the fall? You're gonna try and get that done this fall?
Yeah, that's what Mike was saying, the demo and starting to strip soil and stuff, we're gonna try to get it laid out, the parking lot, once we decide exactly what we're gonna
Okay.
do. We're talking about moving the entrance to the Stanley T. Williams School up. If we can pull it off, but Kurt and I are working on it now.
Okay,
But,
all right.
yeah, so we're just taking, I mean, as far as Wall Field goes, it's gonna be grass.
all right.
Item 9, community events and presentations. Item A, proclamation to Fire Department Company 1, 75th anniversary. The proclamation reads, whereas the North Branford Fire Department Company 1 was established in 1938 to fight fires. Its volunteers have responded to the call and have performed admirably. And whereas the volunteers of Company Number 1 are dedicated to the service of firefighting. Their membership works tirelessly to protect residents from harm and property from destruction, giving back to the community and helping those in need. And whereas Company 1 has a long and honored tradition of service, their longevity is not only attributed to the caliber of their membership, but to their ability to adopt and evolve in the field of emergency response. And whereas this year marks the 75th anniversary of Company 1, we recognize the efforts of all the membership who serve their town and local community unselfishly in all volunteer organizations. Now, herefore, let it be known that I, Anthony Candelora, Mayor of the Town of North Branford, in accordance with the powers afforded me by the town charter, on behalf of the entire community, do hereby proclaim Saturday, October 26th, 2013, as the North Branford Fire Department Company 1 75th Anniversary Day in North Branford. Item 10, citizen statements, petitions, and correspondence. A letter to superintendent regarding an open position on the South Central Cable Advisory Council.
Yeah, that came up at the last meeting, so I sent the letters in your packet to the superintendent, and he's indicated that he has somebody in mind and just waiting for confirmation from that individual. And I think it's just an issue in terms of finding out if there is a conflict or not. So we should have that name to us, hopefully for the next meeting.
Item 11, resignations and appointments. Resignation of Mary Caruso, our town clerk.
I'd like to move to accept the resignation with regret. I'd like to thank Mary for her service to the town council.
Second that.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Wentworth, seconded by Councilor Angeloni. Roll call.
Mayor Candelora,
Sadly, yes.
Deputy Mayor Wentworth,
Sadly, yes.
Counselor Angeloni,
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin,
Yes.
Counselor Fuji.
Yes.
Item 12, unfinished business, discussion and action. Update to the defined benefit plan documents, police union, which has been tabled.
So we're making progress now. December, potentially, right, Anthony? Yeah, we made some headway today.
Item B, potato and corn festival update.
Yeah, there's a update from Pam. Pam is here. Pam? Yeah, can't see you, okay. But again, so a few of this outstanding, although I think there was one that came in, according to Anthony today, late, or sometime today was, yeah.
Yeah, so it really hasn't changed much.
Well, I see revenue is up $20,000 compared to the report that we got at finance last week. It's $20,000 different than what we had on our revenue. Because our revenue report that we got last week had $188,000,
Oh, sorry.
and you have 208, so that's $20,000.
I wasn't part of that.
So I was just wondering where it came from.
I don't know.
I think we'll have to,
I do know that, for instance, some of our numbers are off today. I told Anthony that what number stuck in my head was the 23 that he had written out on there.
Mhm.
Not necessarily the 188, but the 23. But, you know, if there was a check for $6,115 right off the bat was for the cow chip that hadn't been recorded in there. So that wasn't part of that 188. That's one thing that stuck out real quick. Not sure what other one that we mentioned, but there are a few things maybe that would make up some of that. Another one I know that 5,000 of the carnival, and I'm guessing right now, but I know the 6,000 definitely one, is the 5,000 during the weekend they took because of ATM monies they needed that may have not been reflected in that revenue part of it. That could have been also, because it's in my revenue, because it was 5,000 more, but they needed that to replenish their ATMs. That obviously wouldn't have been in the town side because it was given back to them. So it's recorded in mine, so that's, you know, that's 11, so we're getting closer there. So it would have to be dissected a little bit more, but other than that, those are our records from the office. You know, I started to dissect individually as opposed to financial records of the town. And ours are typically, sometimes they're different. I have to go over them. Some of them, I saw some duplicates, and, you know, so it really has to be gone through with a fine tooth comb. But I feel pretty confident that that's a pretty solid number.
We had talked at finance about a letter going out to the ones that you didn't have a final bill from, saying if we didn't have it by a certain date. Do you know if those letters went out?
No, I heard about that, but you know, again, I was at the point where I wasn't even sure what I think I meant by the last time I was here was that sometimes those can pop up that I don't even know that I had expected certain things, but at that time I knew the Ante and Mintech, which Mintech did come in. Anthony just said that Antes just haven't billed us yet. And other than that, I don't know of any others to even send letters to.
So did you get one from North Haven Police?
I didn't. I have to follow up on them. I don't even know if they worked. I just know that they did last year, so they were on my sheet.
Yeah, I saw some.
It ended up being Branford
Right.
that worked. So I don't even know that North Haven was there or not, to tell you the truth. So it's just one of those things that have to be, you know, kind of dissected, and, you know, I don't know. I'd have to call our police department and find out whether they even worked or not. I just haven't had a chance to even do that.
Okay, I guess part of the concern at the finance committee meeting was that it just takes a long time for us to get numbers, and it just seems a little unusual that it takes this long to get definitive numbers on some of these items.
And in my world, it doesn't seem very long, because I am one person working on this with the part-time person who's done in September, still have to get a vacation in, working through transition of trying to move the department. So to me, 8 weeks does not seem very long. Like, once I had put some numbers together, put them aside, and then was carrying on with transition of everything. So 8 weeks to me doesn't seem very long.
Well, last year it took us and there was no transition last year. Last year, it took us even much longer than this. So, to get numbers and to get finalization. So that's, we're not taking this year in particular, we're looking at the last several years.
It does take long. It's a long process to dissect everything, put everything together, you know, be confident about all the receipts that are coming in and placing the right details. It does take a long time. When you're trying to run a lot of the two different departments, and you're constantly back and forth. You're not just doing the festival. The festival could be set aside where you're doing all these other operating things, marketing, and all my regular pieces of my job, and then revisiting. So it does take a long time, unfortunately.
Okay.
It really does.
We had also asked for a breakdown on the staff of what that number entailed, who all that was, and the individual, because that number has grown significantly over time. And I know the council had only approved for the hiring of one
crazy. So we can have that, I'm gonna have Anthony break that down for me, that's not a problem at all. That's just a matter of punching in those numbers. It's not a problem. But I guess that leads into a discussion that Mike and I had as well about the festival and as a whole, and about what my core responsibilities are now having moved into a bigger facility and, looking at my core function. And I think it's incredible that the festival has come this far. We were fortunate enough to start it way back when, but, I think it's at the point where I think I should really go back to my core responsibilities. And at this point, maybe it's a great thing for the town council to appoint somebody to run it. That might be a good start.
Okay, Fran?
But it's open, it's something that came up in our conversation.
That's for discussion on another day, but yeah,
Right.
I understand.
I think I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm ready to really go back and dive into this new facility, make sure that that's exactly where my core responsibilities are, to make sure that we put a lot of money into it. And it is very difficult when this kept growing and growing and growing to do all of it. So at this point, I'd really like to make sure that this center is somewhat what everyone's expectations are.
Sure.
To make sure it's a really great place to be and that we spent the money well and that people are happy. And at this point, it's bittersweet, but I think it's time. And, there's a lot of considerations. We should really get on that soon. And I think at this point, the town council has a lot of different questions about the inside and outside of the festival and all the revenue and expenses. And it's probably time that there's some ownership there, that you appoint a person that you think that is
Pam,
capable of doing it.
what would be like the timings? I know, you almost start planning.
Yeah, it's getting, I have a meeting on Monday, which will also discuss this same very thing with them. And then at that point, you don't want to go much further than December, because I already have emails now that are saying there's somebody that wants to sponsor the run, and they want to give money back. You don't want to lose those people.
Right.
And come January 1st, really, all the letters have to go out for all the crafters and food vendors and sponsorship. And so it's really, right, it's now.
So it's probably something we should put on a later agenda in November.
We only have one meeting in November.
Well, I know, but
So-
it's kind of tough to put it on that agenda, but maybe the first agenda.
And I don't know if somebody from the town council wants to come to the meeting Monday night to discuss with the committee that we have on hand, that we're looking for someone to,
What time and where?
because then that way the town council would be able to appoint somebody that they felt, rest assured that they were happy with.
What time and where?
6 o'clock at
Yeah,
the
okay,
new
right.
community center.
Okay.
Because I think there's a lot of decisions, not just simply replacing me, but how we go about that. Because it's not just me. Granted,
It's gotta be a
the core
transition.
function. I'm the core function of the whole thing, but the department is too. It's the phones and the paperwork and the marketing, and there's, so how is that going to happen? And then, of course, tied in with Fran, how does that continue to happen? Is it a 501c3? I mean, there's a lot of questions in a short period of time. And, granted, the core things have kind of come along, but there are some major decisions that should be made. Do you stay with the same carnival company?
Right.
In my decision, in my world, I'm not sure about that. So, but that's a major decision that has to be made now.
Right.
And how much money do you spend on a part-time staff? How much, I think that's a great, if this is where we're moving and evolving into, then that should be in that person's hands with the town council. You guys can make that decision.
All right.
You may even want to, revisit and fold that into, 13D if you want to talk about, that again. But I have a conflict for Monday, on the rec is Monday the 21st, right?
Right.
Yeah, so I have the conflict with the EDC.
Yeah, and I might be up there anyway, because I think I have the teacher negotiation, so I may be up there anyway, so.
Yeah,
I'm
I'll
gonna
go.
try to stop by.
I
All right.
mean, if no one else,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll
Yeah.
go.
Okay. Very good.
I don't know if you want to go right into the other recreational functions, or do you want me to sit down and come back up?
You know what? I don't mind.
Yeah.
We could go right into the recreational department. Organizational structure and seasonal personnel. That's item 13D. No one object?
No problem.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this was just, this came up at the finance, so maybe I misunderstood, but I guess it was, questions about the organizational structure, the people broken out from, I guess, both the potato and corn festival issue, but also I think I heard some questions about the organizational structure, and then, again, the facility that they just left is small in comparison to where they are now. So there were issues in terms of the front desk, who's manning the front desk, how is the department using its resources and being able to adapt to a new, much larger facility. And so I think that's why that's on there, but it's there, and Pam is here, so we can jump right into that. There are.
I think maybe I don't understand this correctly. Are we talking about, were there people hired that weren't supposed to be hired? Is that what this is?
No, I think it's I think it's about, I'll give an example. The last budget season, last budget round, putting in the part-timers that didn't make the budget, that were not funded, in terms of Pam's description, to have those, or have an individual or part-timers in the role and function as the greeter in the new facility, has to be, is taken on by a secretarial position that is now far removed from the desk in the office, or a desk in her office, and is out in front, if you will, as the greeter. It's not the most efficient, but it's something that has to be done.
Right, and I can go into that a little bit more in depth, and just the understanding, and I've gone through this before, but in a smaller facility, when you first walked in, and even though it wasn't ideal for the last 6 years, we've been saying that even when Roseanne was, our full-time secretary, you could only do so much when she was doing marketing and money and secretarial work and trying to do the core functions of the position, but then you became the forefront of that, of the office, so you were doing a lot of customer service too, and receptionist work, so that you were constantly interrupted with the public, which you have to be, so you'd have to stop and chat, and plus we were selling memberships, and you're selling the business, and so we lacked that receptionist that was really the forefront of the business, where that's a very important position as well, because you are the face of the department. So now having, being removed from the office itself, now you have this secretarial, full-time secretarial with benefits, a big position that we really want a lot out of that position. I do anyway. And now we're out in the hallway of this larger facility, but a lot of your time is wasted in the sense that you're out there doing receptionist work in terms of, you're chatting and you're selling, but a lot of the work that we're expecting her to do, she can't do, because she's out in a receptionist-like area. And it is very hard to remove yourself from that, because it's just different. It's just different.
Have we considered, Firelight and any of the businesses, that have, I don't know, they have 200-300 employees, of offering some type of membership discount for seeing that they're right up there, to bring them in for the health?
We haven't, I haven't thought
I
of
was
that.
just thinking location's great.
Right,
now
I
that,
think it's a great idea. I don't know if it plays into exactly what we're talking about here, but I'm not sure how that, in terms of the receptionist job, are you talking about maybe trying to get somebody in there?
Well, no, I'm just talking about marketing and bringing in more revenue, which solves a lot of the
I agree. I
problems.
think
You
that's
know,
a
it
great.
solves a lot of the problems. I mean, I'm always just thinking about marketing.
Right,
that's what I do.
right. No, I think that's a great
But,
idea. And we are certainly bringing in more membership, which is interesting.
Because even like,
So-
let's say the police, fire,
Mhm.
town employees, do we offer like a discount to any of the
Mhm.
town employees
Mhm.
that go to the
It's a
fitness center?
99.
Yeah,
We've been doing that for quite a while. At one point, it was a special. We're just trying to get that,
Right.
marketing out there. It's changed a little bit now. We've been at the new place, and the budgeting's changed in terms of it not being its own, 228 account. Now it's kind of all together with senior rec and community center in one budget. But that was one piece that kind of got left out of that. Was, I had my part-time people that open the building, close the building, and work on weekends. But yet that 9 to 4 piece, which I can understand that secretary would fall on that 9 to 4, but it's her daily day is not exactly what we would envision as her regular secretarial day. You don't even have a copy machine out there to get all paperwork done at all. And there's times where even if you're taking in money, that you're walking people around trying to sell membership inside the facility, but yet you got money's here. So all that kind of got taken off of our plate, which was really a big part of the job. I don't know necessarily if it's going to be taken off completely, but we just haven't been able to figure out that piece yet without looking at it and saying, and I went to Mike and said, well, really what I had in there was 2 part-time people during the day where we could keep her in the office and work that full-time position in the office and have, a smaller waged hourly position in the hallway, in the entrance, that we're greeting people. Where to go, what our programs were, light phone work, but any kind of additional paperwork we had, but more of the greeter type. So, and being operational now, you realize how great, how much time is wasted when you're out there, and you have to do that job, because that's part of the face of our department too.
And again, trying to understand the dynamic of where they were in their facility, where the gym was with respect to the desk. I mean, clustered right there. It was all concentrated. So now we've got this linear picture of you have one end of the hallway to the other end in terms of the office. Not like she just spins around and says, oh yeah, hey Pam, I'm going to take care of this customer and sell a membership or something like that. So we got it. That's kind of precipitated the whole discussion about, again, the mission, recreation, the core function, and how much the potato festival is taken away from that core function. There's a lot going on there. And one other item I also just in terms of problems and solutions, it was brought up, and Joanne mentioned it at the meeting about the distance in terms of seniors. And where they are in the facility and where our bathrooms are, and I think we may have a potential solution thanks to Jack Kraska. There's potential to create with the space in terms of a bathroom there. So that's a potential, one little solution to the thing. But these things come up, and when you get in there and you say, yeah, okay, well, how do we fix this? And I'm just operational wise, I think Pam is stretched about as far as you can be, I guess, with respect to the operations. And again, it just kind of gets to around to the function. Okay, it's all about programs. I mean, I think the festival's great. I was there. I think it's a wonderful community event. Is it time? That's the question. That's what raises. Is it time to think about a transition or something along so they can get to their core function? And I'm not sure what the answer is.
Okay, I think another reason that this was on here, because it came up at Finance Committee, is there was a person that was hired for part-time for the festival work. And it was told to us at Finance that this person is still employed through Park and Rec, through the department, and not being paid out of festival funds.
No. Pat, who, his name has been floating around here, so funny, I'm sorry to laugh, but Pat. But he was, even before, let's see, he came on staff when we had, when there was a hiring freeze, and Richard said, and obviously we had nobody up at the front, nobody. And then you had Lauren and I trying to run this entire function. And that's when Rich said, do what you need to do, if you need to hire a part-time person to get through, but it was the no benefits thing. That's when I reached out to Southern Connecticut and looked for an internship, and Pat was one of those people. He came on and said, I'd be happy to help out while I can. So at that point, he was helping us with the front, he was helping with the festival. Then the festival committee decided that they wanted to, well, with me involved there too, that needed a part-time person out of those funds. And one of the committee members was hired in November to run from November through the festival, pretty much all year long, outside of October. And she resigned in May. And then that's when Pat and I, Pat was then working the front desk out of budgeted money. And so but he was doing festival too, but he was still working out of the budget. He wasn't working out of the festival. Then there was no more festival person, so we jumped in to try to help the whole thing in terms of, that's when Dennis Pannone was trying to make the transition of a chairman.
But he's still employed?
No.
He's not employed?
He's not working, no.
Oh, well, that's not the information that we got.
No, he ended in September. And right now, we've been in touch. Matter of fact, he came when our secretary was sick, and we were in the middle of this transition into the new building. We had nobody to answer the phones while we were trying to do everything. Of course, yes, I called him without a doubt and said, can you help us right now? We're in the middle of this transition. Can you work? Yes, but he wasn't working at a festival. He was working as a substitute to someone who wasn't in for the entire week while we were trying to open up this new building. So that's why he was there. And if that were to happen again and she was out for 2 more weeks because of illness, I would have to make a call again in order to function in this facility. You cannot have nobody out there. You just can't. It's a different facility. In the last position, if we had to, Lauren was right there. She could still function and still do that for a little bit. But when you have two positions that you have to be mobile, you have meetings, you have this and that, you can't be stuck in the hallway. So that's exactly why he was hired. Well, he was asked to come back to give us some hours while Megan was off on sick.
Okay.
But as a festival, he's waiting to see if he's even still available, because he's out looking for full-time work, if he's even available. But right now, if he were available, I know he would come back and start up with the festival again. He has the knowledge, he knows what it is, he would be a great candidate. The problem with him is that when he finds a full-time job, he'll be gone. So, and in that respect, maybe not a great candidate, because, you really want someone to go the length of it, but, that's not always easy too. But he is certainly not putting in any hours right now. And I would anticipate that position start up soon. Phone calls need to be done, and, but again, whether that's the town council's choice. If you choose to reach out to him, great. If not, no problem. Whatever you guys decide you want to do.
It almost seems to me that we need some specific recommendations rather than this general front of the Park and Rec Department and the back of the Park and Rec Department and secretaries and organizers of festivals. Mike, you're the chief of personnel. Please meet with Pam. Get back to us and say, this department cannot function without X number of hours of additional personnel, or it has too many hours of personnel, whatever it is.
Right.
We need a specific recommendation.
Okay.
And a rationalization for what it is we're going to engage, when, and what it's gonna cost.
Right, and
But
that was a lead-in.
It has to be something more than these
Yeah.
generalized problems that seem to be being dealt with on a daily basis with Band-Aids.
Right, I agree. I'll lead in, and that was the sort of the lead in to that, and then there's just two. Budget cut, or it didn't make the budget, and the hiring freeze. So, but there is a need, and we'll craft that and identify that.
Also during budget season, we had asked, and I know I didn't see any of the material, we had asked for income from that department on programs, bus trips, and not specific, just general summer program. their revenue generating programs.
Yeah, that's
You know,
it.
so that we could look at that, and is there anything in there that we can use or substantiate that there's funds in there that we can use for part-time, whatever? And, you know, we never, as far as I know, we never received that information to help us make any decisions.
Well, yeah, we can do
They
that.
had to get some information, because that's where the 40 grand came from contingency. So they already took 40,000 from that programming account. We wouldn't have taken it without any background on how much money was in there and how much we were.
No, we wanted a breakdown of the various areas where the programming money is made from. We didn't, I mean.
You want
it's-
sources, basically.
Right, which
Right.
changes year to year,
Well,
depending on what's
that's-
good, what's happening, and sometimes you can have, you know, and right now, we've cut down on a lot of things because of this whole transition, because of manpower, because of, oh my gosh, you don't wanna slack in this one area because you're doing all this. So we really need to start to catch our breath and balance, and try to figure that out too. So we can look at past records, it doesn't necessarily mean that's where we are today. We need to kind of fuel up again, and then after taking that 40,000 off of one account, and matter of fact, on the 802 account, which is the senior programming account as well, which was a very healthy account for many, many years, and then it was cut by taking out our program, full-time program senior person out of that account. So the funds that were doing so well, way prior to me even being here, were almost diminished to nothing over 5 years. In that account.
I mean, I don't know what you're talking about, because that's never come up in a budget meeting in the last 4 years that I've been on the council. So if it's before you, I have no idea what that is.
It was all during Rich Brannigan and Carl, so
Well,
which we had. So
Yeah,
what
so-
I'm saying is that we have had, you know, decent revenue generating accounts, and then they were affected by, you know, taking staff out of them. And, you know, of course, now contingency out of another. So we have to be very careful with where we are with those accounts so that we can continue generating some revenue. Like you were saying, maybe there's another, even fitness memberships, same thing. You know, fitness memberships were helping pay for part-time staff. So we've been producing revenue and helping offset accounts for the town for years. We produced a lot of money, and we've given those facts to the town council before, especially when the community center was, at one point, we're saying, should we stay open, should we close it? There was a big to-do about that 5 years ago, and we had to produce all that information about how much the fitness room was generating and how much it was offsetting. We brought in a lot of money just through fitness memberships, a lot. And today we are still, all those fitness memberships go right into the general fund today to offset the people that open up. All that money, the town never had a budget for the people that opened up the building 7 days a week, closed it, and worked weekends. That was a solid number. Where we ran into trouble with that revenue, with the fitness memberships, was paying for the oil and electricity and the building part. You know, where the town would have liked to see that covered, but that was a very difficult task, you know, to keep generating enough memberships to pay for the actual building, a town building. But the staff, it always, you know, it always paid for all the part-time staff.
Should I hold that information for the December meeting, or are we going to consider a special
No,
meeting or two member?
Yeah, December.
December.
Wait.
There's no money in the budget.
Pam, thank you.
Thanks, Pam.
Thank you. Okay, back up to item C on 12C, ordinance 2013-01, building construction.
I move that the North Branford Town Council adopts proposed ordinance 2013-1 entitled Building Construction as presented.
Second motion.
Okay, moved by Counselor Vaughn and seconded by Counselor Busey. I just have one quick question. I noticed in our folders,
It's
there
in
was,
that folder you got tonight.
yeah, is there any additional? All right, roll call?
Mayor Candelora,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitmer,
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni,
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin,
Yes.
Counselor Pucci.
Yes.
Item D, ordinance 213-2, purchasing.
Move that the North Branford Town Council adopt proposed ordinance 2013-2, entitled Purchasing as presented.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Fawnin, seconded by Counselor Angeloni. Roll call?
Mayor Candelora,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitmer,
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni,
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin,
Yes.
Counselor Pucci.
Yes.
Item 13, new business, discussion and action. Extension of sanitary sewers funding approval.
This is basically the second half of your discussion regarding the Gale Drive sewers. This is the actual dollars. Obviously, the first line has to be changed from that $52,000 number down to the 37 pursuant to your earlier action. But basically, we're taking the money out of the sewer capital fund and paying it back over the 20-year assessment of a 4% interest rate.
Thank you, Anthony.
I'd like to make a motion, be it hereby resolved that the North Branford Town Council instructs the treasurer, finance director to pay for all costs incurred with the extension of sanitary sewers in Gale Drive from Fund 412. Further, the North Branford Town Council authorizes these improved properties to pay their assessment as approved by the WPCA over a 20-year amortization period utilizing a 4% interest rate.
I'll second it.
Do we
Moved
have
by
to have the
Counselor.
4 houses in that or not? Do we need to have the 4 houses?
You might want to reference the 4 houses on Gale Drive if you want to clarify them.
Okay, I'll add to the motion that it includes houses 16,
16, 18, 20, and 22.
Moved by Counselor Angeloni,
Second.
seconded by Counselor Fucy. Roll call?
Mayor Candelora,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitmer,
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni,
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin,
Yes.
Counselor Pucci.
Yes.
Just while we're on sewers, just real quick, I had just one question. I had 2 phone calls. One from, you know the old Cop Hines store there on Route 80?
Combine Store and Marshfield Apartments.
Marshfield, yeah.
I've talked to both representatives of both those properties. Basically, their question was, they require to pay a special connection fee for any, again, the old Combine Store for active connection to the sanitary sewer. And I think the number's around $25,000 for our sewer regulations. It's tied up that the Route 8 line and Marshfield Apartments, it's basically $12,300 per residential unit, talking about potential additional apartment unit. They initially paid about $1,000 a unit, but the rates have changed over time. And I have discussed it with them. I think we're gonna get letters on, we may get letters on both of those along the way. But that's, I have had that discussion as well.
Now, on the commercial, do they have to come up with the whole 26, or are they?
It's a special connection fee at time, either time of issuance of building permit or time of connection of the sanitary sewer, right? We did away with the special connection fee, they pay it up front in full. And financing generally has gone back on them. It's not an assessment, it's a connection fee, and the way regulations read, it's either time of issuance of building permit or
Right.
time of issuance of sewer permit. And I think that seems to be the bigger issue on at least the cop times.
Yeah.
My understanding.
Well, I was just curious because, the town does, generate revenue with the sewer, and I understand the reasoning behind getting the money up front with the business. So I was just curious, because.
Yeah, and if I hear more, I'll certainly pass on. There may be consideration to pay that over, again, the way we spell it out, it's basically lump sum.
Yeah.
Can we look at it over a period? I don't think we want to go to 20-year period, because that,
Right.
there's an interest rate on top of it, but maybe I'll consider something.
Yeah, some type of
A variation
installment,
of it,
maybe, right?
Depending on the size. The last big one, I think, when
big Y, it was a big number that they had to pay up front.
Right.
It's easier to do in new development, sometimes when someone's redeveloping, it's a little harder to outlay that cash.
Yeah. Okay.
Will you look into that?
Pardon me?
Will you look into that to see if
Yeah,
there's some way?
I'll look into it and try to, discuss it, and see if we can maybe move
Okay.
something forward.
All right, thank you. Let's see, item B, financial report. Sorry, Ann.
Financial report remains unremarkable. The tax collections continue to exceed prior year's level. Overall revenue continues to exceed prior year's level. Overall expenses continue to be lower than the prior year. A couple of accounts do show being overspent in technology and property and casualty insurance. Those are only based on purchase orders and not truly overexpended as of yet. Things remain rosy in North Branford. Any questions?
Very good, thank you.
Don't want to jinx a report like that with questions.
Right.
Sorry?
Don't want to jinx a report like that with questions.
Approval of tax refunds.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Wentworth, seconded by Councilor Angeloni.
Okay.
Just,
I think Rose moved it,
Oh,
not second. Sorry.
switch that.
Switch it.
One question
You
on
did-
Totucket Woods, the 10,247.76, or?
Yeah.
Check it, I don't know. I'll double check for it. I'm not sure what it was.
Okay. All right.
Or we approve it while it's being checked, or?
I don't know,
Should
it's
table.
it's a big number just to like
Yeah.
give back. What, are you confident?
Why don't we bump that one over to November?
Yeah, I'd be more comfortable with giving back
So
10
I'll
grand.
amend the motion to approve everything except the Totucket Woods Realty Company, and we'll put that on to the next, into November's.
I'll second
It's
that
an
amendment.
assessor CC. I'm wondering if that was a contested assessment. I believe there was one of the ones that was contesting their evaluation assessment.
Not what we said last.
The settlement?
No, well, no, the assessment was a lot more than 10.
Right, but what was the incremental difference though? I'm thinking because it was an assessor CC, it might have been because of that.
I don't want to vote on a
I don't
$10,000 give back without knowing exactly what it's for and why.
Okay, that was moved by Councilor Angeloni, seconded by Deputy Mayor Wentworth.
And
Work.
I second that amendment.
Right,
Yeah.
to amend, just to remove the Totucket Woods Realty until further investigation. Roll call?
Mayor Candelora?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wentworth?
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni?
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin?
Yes.
Counselor Calucci?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna go down to 14, citizen statements and petitions.
Chris, on that one, could you make that pending investigation? I hate to get guys making it a month just for,
Yeah.
it might be a simple answer.
Sure, all right.
I'll notify, I'll get the answer from Christina and call you tomorrow.
And I can email the council.
I'd rather not have the guy make it in a month, it's a lot of money
Okay.
waiting for him as well.
All right. Do you need a motion for that, or?
Well, your motion was to everything but accept that
Hey, so
$10,000.
Okay.
I make a motion to rescind that last.
Okay, I'll rescind the motion.
Second.
Rescind my
I'll
second.
rescind the second.
Oh, you can't.
No, you can't.
Make it.
I did it.
Joanne did it.
Okay, roll call.
I thought I seconded it.
Yes,
Mayor Candelora?
yes.
Deputy Mayor Wentworth?
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni?
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin?
Yes.
Counselor Calucci?
Yes.
Okay, so now you want to take the motion to read,
Subject, oh, I'm sorry.
well, subject to,
Notification or clarification.
Clarification.
Clarification of
So
that.
we're gonna get an email out to all our counselors?
Yeah. I'll-
Yeah, either Mike or Anthony email me the clarification, and we can, or they can email all of us, and,
well, okay, so then
And
what
then-
happens if we don't like the clarification?
That's my question. I mean, I guess we have to like it if it's justified.
Well, your assessor issued a
Yeah.
CFC, so there's gotta be some validity, she didn't just willy-nilly go and give them $10,000.
well, Anthony's not gonna just give out if it's
No.
not.
No, there's
Oh.
no way.
Okay, all right.
I think if anybody's got a question and they email back, I want an answer and I
Right.
don't like this clarification,
We stop.
it waits until next month,
Right,
all right?
Yep, sounds good to me.
okay.
That's legislative history.
Okay, so we're going to, I move the tax refunds, and Totucket Woods is dependent on further explanation from the tax assessor.
And if anybody doesn't like the explanation, it gets tabled till next month.
You want that all?
I'll second.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll second that.
yep.
If anyone,
If any council member objects
Any council member objects?
to
this
the
is in lieu of deferring it for a month. The potential to make the payment now is there, but if anybody's got a question, it's not gonna happen until next month.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen as long as the explanation.
We're extremely reasonable, just cheap.
Roll call?
We work cheap.
Mayor Candelora,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wentworth.
Yes.
Councilman Angeloni,
Yes.
Council Fawnin,
Yes.
Council Calucci.
Yes.
Before we get off of this, I would like to amend the agenda to add an executive session to discuss personnel matters.
To include the town manager and Anthony,
Yeah.
And
second.
Moved by Counselor Angeloni, second by Counselor Fawnin. Roll call?
Mayor Candelora.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wentworth.
Yes.
Council Angeloni,
Yes.
Council Fawnin,
And,
Yes.
Council Calucci.
and the town attorney.
Oh, the town attorney, I apologize.
Yes, you're in too. You're in it.
You're
Okay.
stuck.
Go ahead, Cliff, citizen statements and petitions.
Good evening, Cliff Potter, 1251 Middletown Avenue. I got a couple questions here before I get into what I want to talk about. How can anything be voted on after Vinnie left? Aren't you now out of a quorum?
Now, the general Robert's rules allows the meeting to continue if you had a quorum at the outset.
Okay, as long as you had one, then you can, I wish I knew that while I was on the Agriculture Commission. Because we could have had somebody drive by and wave, right, then we could have made a quorum? All right, that was just a question, because I didn't want to see all this go to waste, and I'm glad you answered that. And I also want to speak on Pam's behalf. You've got the Guilford Fair, you've got the Durham Fair, and you've got our Potato Fest. Granted, we're not as gigantic, but we're just as good and just as great for the community. You can have a person in the seat, but you're never gonna have continuity. And like she said, I mean, she does do a good job. I've had to interact with her, in the past, and it's been a pleasant experience as the Agriculture Commission, and then we got involved with the corn and some of the produce and stuff. But again, if you wanna keep it great, it can't fall on her it's not the big things. She gets clobbered with 40,000 little things that take your time up. The big ticket items, you probably can do in 10 minutes, but it's a constant. And again, I don't know how, again, you can expect her to be involved in that, and it is getting bigger, and it's getting more popular, as you well know, and we've had good weather. So it's almost at the point, and I'm not available, but you've got to get
I was
somebody.
gonna say, you were selling me on appointing you to
No,
run
I
the
mean,
festival.
I hated to step down from the Agriculture Commission, but my work ethic wouldn't let me do something I couldn't do right. So again, but you've got to really somehow make it work. And like she says, the same thing with the rec department. You have people that want to work so bad, because now the physical layout, they're being hindered. So maybe it's time to look at the situation and really give it some hard thought, because as citizens, now's the time to catch the people. You've relocated, and now if you lose that edge, and then it's gonna be just another building in town, and you're gonna lose that marketing edge. And so again, to save $1 is one thing, but to lose the continuity, you're paying a person, but you're not getting your money's worth out of the person, because there's no continuity from year to year. And that's why, even though I left the Agriculture Commission, I agreed to stay involved with the trash proposal stuff, because I know who to call to get the porta potty. I know when to call, you know what I'm saying? And if I dump that on a new person, it's just, but it takes a while to get to that continuity point. So, those are my two the reason I'm here tonight, and these are strictly my thoughts and views, I was, an election's coming. I thought I'd be addressing the whole council, but we got a very skeleton crew. And I thought more candidates would be here, and that's very embarrassing too. The Board of Ed, we elect a Board of Ed. The Board of Ed takes care of school business. We elect you guys, or re-elect you, let's hope, maybe, to, again, handle the town problems. I still see a very, very big communications gap between you guys and the Board of Ed. And when does it come to a head? And I've been coming to these meetings, as you would all know, a long time. Every year budget time, and every year I'm embarrassed to say I'm a citizen of North Branford because of what happens at the budget crunches. There's still, I mean, I don't know how you're gonna do it. You're almost gonna have to come up with a double post maybe to break down this stone wall that's in front of you guys and the Board of Ed. The intentions are good, but the communications lines don't open. I go to both the Board of Ed meetings and I used to come here until I got so aggravated I couldn't for a while. You just have to somehow make it work better, not in March, but all year long, so that I'll hear something read here, and I'll go to the Board of Ed meeting, and it'll be read slightly different, but that's where maybe the difference starts. It's the same subject, 99% of the information's the same, but then it gets interpreted two different ways. It's way out here come budget time, it's gone, it's out of control. But if it was addressed when it was here, you might be fine. A big thing is, while you're worried about the Board of Ed, I think a lot of town problems are going unnoticed, as you well know. I want to know, at Stanley T. Williams, wasn't there a problem with the way the air conditioner ducts were laid out? They were wrong on the bid or something? I don't know, can you tell me? Wasn't there?
I think there was a second part to the job that was VA boxes or something.
But they said, yeah, nobody.
Phase 2 or something, I believe.
Did anybody, now see, that's where I feel the town council should be following up on that project more so than Board of Ed business. Because I guess what, nobody lifted a ceiling tile? And then what happened? Who ate that money?
I don't know what you're talking
No,
about.
I don't.
We have a permanent project building committee.
Do you remember that, Don?
It wasn't a problem. There were just two different phases, I thought, of the project. The second phase.
Well, there was something about the way the girders went that they thought they were
You're
going.
getting the same information that we do from the Board of Ed.
Well,
Yeah,
again,
I don't know either.
okay.
The permanent, like I said, it would be something that's permanent.
There is no issue, I mean, everything's okay with the heating and air.
Well, yeah, well now, but I mean, this was
No,
back,
there wasn't,
at an earlier meeting I heard this.
I
It was
remember.
brought up the fact that when the contractor got there, he was gonna have to adjust his cost because when he opened the ceiling tiles, the girders didn't go the way.
The cost was still the same.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
the
again,
base fee.
and again, these are only my thoughts and my
There was
views.
no change in the bid.
Yeah.
And the budget was very painful for me, let me tell you. I take this town serious, and I take you people serious, and I just don't feel that Thursday night, when you guys didn't have enough people to make the vote a tiebreaker, you at least flexed the amount. Come that following Monday night, and it was $700,000, and the axe fell, the votes came, and we were left in shock here in the office. I mean, in the committee room here. If you would just knock $25 off of that as a show of good faith, I think a lot of us would have been more comfortable. Just to show, but it was just the hammer slammed, the $700,000 was cut. I call this gentleman here a statesman. He said, he kept asking you, I'll do it, just tell me, what are we cutting, right, Joe? You kept asking, what are we cutting? Just tell me what, and I'll go along with you. Nobody could answer Joe that night. And I tell you, that hurt a lot, and that's when, probably the last time you saw me here for a long time, because I didn't want to come here. I need a very long cooling off period, and I don't know if I've cooled off enough yet, because that hurt me as a town citizen. I don't feel you acted in my best response that night as a citizen managing my money. And again, I don't know if it's communication, I don't know what it is, and unfortunately, not all the members are here, because another problem I have is members' ethics and attitudes. You sit in that seat, and maybe this is falling on the wrong ears because you don't have a full council. The respect that wasn't delivered to department heads, people of authority, was embarrassing to me. Some of the statements made were embarrassing to me. And I won't lower myself to tell you who said them or what they said, because that's beneath me. You know, it wasn't there. And that's why I call Joe a statesman, because Joe sits there, he asks the tough questions, and he waits for a good answer. And he won't let you proceed until he gets an honest answer. We need more of that. I know you're volunteering your time, and it's tough, but I mean, I still feel we could get more productivity out of a town council that operates to his level and other people's levels. You know, it just, the interruption of a speaker, the slangs that came out of the town council chambers into this chamber to the people of authority. I learned in the service, you don't have to like the person, but he holds a job and you respect the position he holds, and you render that person the proper respect. And a couple times I didn't see that. I'm gonna pick on the Republicans. This is my views, and I'll do my disclaimer again, and my thoughts. I was out of town, couldn't make the caucus. I was enjoying myself in New Hampshire. And when I found out that it seems like anybody that was friendly to the Board of Ed, I'll name Rose, I'll name Michael, and I'll name Marcy. Incumbents were not re-endorsed to be in positions. Coincidence? A meeting before the meeting? I don't know what it was. But again, that was very embarrassing for me, because I did join, I was an independent, and when Anthony got into the office and he worked with me with the the Ag Commission, I said, I will become a Republican so I can support you, because he did work with me a lot, he helped me, he mentored me. So that was embarrassing. So it seems like, and that's why when Rose came to us at the fest, I said, I don't like what happened to you, I'll be very happy to sign your petition, because now luckily, these people are back on the ballot, but I just felt that was dirty politics. And these, again, are my thoughts and my views. So maybe it's time for change. I don't know. I mean, you're doing an okay job. I still think there's rooms to do a great job. But come budget time, I think I just might have to think, you know, I have to stay away from here, because I just don't like what I see. And again, this is not a personal attack. These are strictly my views. And as I've always said to you before, for many things, our greatest asset in this town is our North Branford students. If they're well educated and well taken care of, they will get good jobs, and they'll buy more expensive houses and more expensive cars, and they will stay in town, hopefully, because it is a great town. And therefore, our tax base will grow, and you will have revenue to do what you need. But you have to invest $2 in them now, so they can make $20,000 more down the road. That's my thoughts. I mean, and I'll be glad to talk to anybody or answer any questions, but it's just been a very tough 6 months. I didn't want to stay away, but I was afraid I'd say something that I shouldn't say, because I was really, really upset by that Board of Ed budget cut. Like I say, $25 would have been a show of an effort to try to break down that wall. And you can't tell me that wall's not there. It's not intentional, but every year the bricks start to pile up. And then you get the budget time, and that wall is there. You're pressured, they're pressured, and we go through it, and we survive for another year. And it's wearing me down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cliff, I just want to clarify one thing on your comments, is that, no, it's just at the caucus, and you weren't there.
I know.
I just want to let you know that the RTC did endorse all incumbents. They nominated and endorsed all incumbents.
But the votes weren't there, right?
So, I
That was
mean,
the way the votes went down in the room.
so
there weren't
they,
a lot of
but
people.
the RTC did endorse all incumbents.
Okay, and you know, I feel maybe, like I say, I was an independent, so I never got involved with caucuses until Anthony. And I have to say, Anthony was very generous. When I first got out of here, I didn't know anything about politics, and he would take time out. He likes Dunkin' Donuts coffee, and we'd work together. But again, so I just, and that's why I say they're my own thought, and but it doesn't look right. Doesn't look right to outsiders. I mean, hopefully, and I was hoping tonight, because it was my last chance to make this before the election.
Budget time is difficult for all of us.
I know.
We don't have, and as you know, or don't know, I mean, this year, they've had, what, almost $300,000 in retirements. I know it's not in last year's budget.
Yeah.
But to my knowledge, they seem to be moving forward. We got guards in the schools. You know, we've done a lot. And again, I'm not gonna harp on it, but there's grants out there that we're missing.
and yeah.
There's thing, you know.
But if you had that
and
dual purpose, maybe the one person that missed it, the other person would see it. I don't know.
It was brought to their attention.
I think
But-
one thing you're right about, Cliff, is there is no communication, and we're forced to make a decision blindly a lot of times because of that.
And I see that, because I do try,
Yeah.
you know, I have to say that my wife dragged me to a Board of Ed meeting once. I didn't want to go, and look what happened.
You drank the Kool-Aid.
I drank the Kool, and now, then the town, and it, right, and I had a drag out fight with your brother, but then I apologized after that, and then I became one of his biggest supporters. So, yeah, I've been wrong too, and I'm still wrong, probably. Thank you.
Thank you, Cliff. It was good to see you again. All right.
I make a motion to adjourn to executive session to include the town manager, town attorney, and finance director.
Second.
Well, that was just to amend the agenda.
Moved by Counselor Angeloni, seconded by Counselor Fawnin. Roll call?
Yeah, we have it.
Yes.